I just realized I had the wrong label up there in the last video, which we weren't dividing by fractions, but anyway, so I changed it for this section. We're dividing by 0, and like, what does that mean? Can we divide by 0? I don't know, we're gonna figure that out. So we're gonna start with an example. We're just gonna use the number 7. And we're gonna start with answering the question, is 7 divided by 0, is that defined? And what we mean by defined is does it have one exact answer? So in order to make this easier, what I think we can do is change this division problem into a missing addend problem, so we would make it into a multiplication problem. And the way we would do that is we would start with, so we have 7 divided by 0. So, okay, so this is going to be our problem number 1. 7 divided by 0 equals something. And the way we would switch this is in order to switch this, you would have your 7 would be equal to 0 times something, because you're basically moving this over here. And then since you're not dividing anymore, you'd be multiplying by, like, this times this equals 7. So we now have this as a missing addend problem. And when you think about what this really means, this is asking what times 0 will get you to the number 7. And if you think about that, it's like, well, anything times 0 is going to be 0. So there's no way you can multiply anything by 0 to get it to 7. So this has no answers. No answers. So this is undefined, which means you can't divide 7 by 0 because it just doesn't work. There's no answers that would make sense to the problem. Then if we look at our second problem, different color. Our second problem that we're going to look at for using 0 in division is 0 divided by 7. So the opposite. And so you would have 0 divided by 7 equals something. So we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to move this into a missing addend problem. So we're going to do the exact same thing, and we're going to say we have 0 is equal to 7 times something. And when you think about what this means we're trying to get to 0. What can we multiply 7 by to get to 0? And the only way we can do that is to multiply by 0, because 7 times 0 equals 0. So, and no other number would work. 7 times 1 would be equal to 1. Like, the only way to get to 0 is to multiply 7 by 0. So that works because our question mark equals 0. That's one answer, so the problem is defined. And then our last problem is 0 divided by 0, which could be tricky, because you could think about that as like, oh, well, 0 divided by 0, 0 divided by nothing was just equal to 0. But let's move this into a missing addend problem and see if that's still true. So we're going to move this into multiplication form, so we're going to have 0 equals 0 times what? And when you think about this, well, 0 times 0 could equal 0, but 0 times 1 could equal 0. 0 times 2 could equal 0. 0 times 20 equals 0. So you have like an infinite amount of solutions that you could do to solve this. So this question mark could be any number, which means this has infinite answers, which means it's not defined, because when, like I said before, defining, when a problem is defined, there's only one solution. And this has too many solutions to even count. So that means that's undefined as well. So dividing by 0 can be tricky, but if you do it this way, it makes a lot of sense. Okay, bye, Geraldine.